Okay, so make sure once you have it on, you just lift it up again, re-wet everything, make sure it all slides. You can move around. This is sticky. So this is a Dodge 2500 that we're doing. So the first thing is we want to do like this area. So we want to line up as many points here as we can. So I'm going to try to get this nicely lined up around this light, and then same with that. So I'm going to grab the alcohol, spray just that corner and that corner for now. Get that lined up. Make sure that it's straight, because if you're off like this, it's still you're gonna have troubles down there. So make sure you still have like this whole side straight. So once you kind of have that where you want it, tack that. So I'm just spraying alcohol there to get it to tack. So it looks like we're gonna have to pull down here after, so I wanna get this here and then pull it down. That's falling off. Get this around that corner. And then always make sure that that you don't have slack here. So if you do, just lift it up and move it over so that it's not really in your way, so that you can lay this down properly. And I'm just gonna tuck this to see where I am. So looks like we're all right there. If we tuck this, we're gonna be good. So I'm just gonna get this down a little bit. Don't worry about like fully tucking under there yet, because you're gonna have to get like this whole thing on and then tuck under. So as long as when you go to tuck it, it's not gonna touch in here, and you're not too short, then you should be fine for the time being. So now we want to get this where this seam is. We want to get that down, otherwise we're gonna have to cut it back. So let's do that next. So just make sure that that point right there is laying down. And then we're gonna leave this for now until when we go over there. So we're gonna leave that. So the next thing is this piece down here. We want it, so we're gonna have like all this excess here. So we wanna make sure we lift that up, so we can pull down here and tack that in place before we pull it that way. Pull it down first. Tack that under there. So I'm doing like this corner first, because then when I pull that way, it'll take some of this slack out. So as long as I can get that. And you can finish this piece off if you want right now. So just spray alcohol at the end. Soapy solution in the middle, so you can really pull. There should be a cutout on here for where that hole is. Right there. I'm gonna try and line that hole up right there. So I took most of that slack out, as you can see. I want to get down there, Jackson, so you can see. Because before it was like up here, so now it's just here. So if I can't get that down, now what I could do is just lift it up from this side again and pull this way a little bit more, and it'll take some of that slack out, because we can't go any further that way because of that hole. So we want to try and get that out. It looks like we should be able to get it down with a little bit of alcohol. So we should be fine there. So you don't want them any bigger than about an inch, otherwise you're never gonna get them laid down. So then you're gonna have to either lift it up from this side and pull this way, or lift it up from that side and pull that way. And we got a huge hair in the middle. Get that out. Make sure you really get this edge because the water's gonna sit right there, if you can see that. So make sure you push all that out. Do it a couple times. Different angles to try and make sure you get all that water out of there. Okay, so we're gonna leave this for now because it's a little bit long, so I'll have to trim that off before, so it won't tuck in there. So we'll go around this other side. So by this time you're gonna be sticking already. So make sure you pull it off slowly so that you don't wreck anything or it doesn't get stuck to itself. Spray that all with soapy water again. So our next tack point is going to be here, but we want to watch here just in case we overstretch it. If we have to pull it all the way over there and this piece isn't going to line up, then we have to tack here first, then there. So we have a hair here too. So it looks like we should be fine though. Again, so we tacked here, and now we're going to tack here because we want to get rid of all of this. Otherwise, you're never going to get that to lay down. So we're going to go to this far corner. Before I totally squeegee it out, I'm just gonna check. Looks like we're pretty good there. Could come down a little bit. So I'm just gonna tack this corner for a minute. And then I'm gonna lift this and pull this down a little bit. A little tiny bit. And then I can squeegee this out. And as you can see, it pulled most of it out, but it's touching right here on this plastic, but maybe once we pull down, it might pull this whole thing down. So we'll just leave that for a minute. We'll come over here, do this, corner. Make sure this is not sticking somewhere over here because you want it to be loose so you can get it down here. So that's where we need it. A little bit more alcohol. So when you're pulling, make sure you're paying attention to this too, because it looks like we are a little short here, so we can pull this way a little bit. So we're lined up on that edge too. If when you go to do it and the pattern's a little bit off, and if you're pulling here, it makes it shorter here. Make sure that the front one is lined up, not so much the back one, because this is where the rocks are going to hit, not necessarily back here. So that's pretty close. So it did pull it down to where we needed it. So now what I'm going to do is just spray a little bit of alcohol up there and then push it straight out. So that worked out perfect. And then again, I'm just going to re-squeegee this entire area, make sure I don't have any water sitting in that groove. So now we're going to do the same thing we did on that other piece, is pull it that way and get these two seams to butt up right tight. You don't want a gap there. The seam is there so that's for easier install. But sometimes you're gonna have to pull it a lot to get it over there. So I'm actually using like my knee right now to help me push and hold it. I got a hair in there, but I'm gonna tack it first and then squeegee everything out and then lift it up. So see how that pulled all of that extra material out of there? If I didn't and it only came even like a quarter away from there, you're never gonna be able to lay those down. So it has to butt up. There's a reason why they make it like this. It's because they know how much it needs to stretch around the corner for an easier install. So then we spray alcohol in here, squeegee all this up. And again, re-squeegee this area to make sure you don't have any water trapped, which I did. Okay, so now that I have this little hair here, if I would have lifted this up before I squeegeed it, it would just pop back to where we were. So now that I have it squeegeed, I can lift this up without it popping back on me. I can get this little hair out. Maybe. Can I get it? No. Got one of them. There we go. Okay. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're overlapping a little bit because we can just trim that. It's better to be overlapping than to being too short because otherwise you're gonna have well, number one, you're gonna fail your inspection. And number two, rocks can hit there. That's the whole point of having it butt up because it's usually right in the front. Same with that seam. When you do that seam, you want those butted up exactly perfect. Those are where the rocks are gonna hit. The customer won't be that happy if you leave it. Okay, so now we're gonna do this top part. So again, lift this, re-wet everything all the way down. So you're not fighting anything. Same with this bottom piece. You have to lift this too. So that you can start to position this side in place. You're gonna have to pull it a little bit, but you don't want to be getting stuck anywhere. It could prevent you from pulling it through. Okay, so then just wiggle it. Yeah, we're good. Nothing's holding anywhere. So I'm gonna pull now because we ended with right here before we went that way. So we're gonna start there on this side and then tack all these spots and then do the center. But you still want to make sure that you're pulling it first, because I could do it right here, right? And it looks like it's lined up, but then these aren't lined up. So still make sure that this is all lined up. So I'm still gonna alcohol this little spot and this spot so I can kind of pull it all at once into place. That's pretty close there. So then I'm going to tack that piece, come down and tack that corner so it doesn't move on us. So we're going to go down and tack this spot again. Get this out because it's not touching, so we might as well try to get that down. Remember before you try to squeegee closer to this, we want to pull that so that it has somewhere to go. It's starting to tack there a little bit, so I'm just going to spray a little bit of water in there. Find that little hole. Get it to that hole. So again, see how those came out. This we could probably pull, see how if I pull it down a little bit, it gets rid of that. So we can put it in the middle, happy medium. We got a poop thing in there. Get that out. So we'll just alcohol the bottom and pull it down just a smidge. See, get it to like there. And this piece, it's quite a bit bigger than the other side that we had. So I'm gonna lift this corner and pull that way, which will pull slack from there and also pull slack from here. So then I'm gonna squeegee that down. So now I have a much smaller one under there. Then I should be able to get out with the heat gun. And then the rest of this, so always do your corner first. So spray alcohol in the corner. And I always hold it with my finger and then come in with the squeegee from behind it and try to squeegee that corner down that way and then corner like that. We're probably not gonna be able to do the top one yet because we're gonna have to trim it, so because it's hitting there. So we'll just leave it like that for now. It's for we got a hair in there again. There, perfect. So I'm probably gonna leave this corners until we get this laid down, and then we might be able to pull this up a little bit so we're not touching, so we don't have to cut it. So we'll see. We'll do this first. Squeegee this down. But we have to lift it and move it over anyway, so I'll get that after. So you just want to lift it to, you don't want to lift it past your hole because otherwise you're gonna have to try and line up your hole. But if you lift it to here, get that hair out wherever it was. And then pull it over to line up with that other one. At this point, you're probably gonna have to pull it with your fingers because you won't have enough to like grab and pull. Just try to line it, butt it up. If it's not lining up, pull it harder. See that water sticking there. Alright, so then we'll finish this top part, and then actually let's do this middle part, and then Jackson, you can finish doing that. So to do the middle, lift it up again, spray it all. Make sure that those corners are laid, and then what we want to do is tuck it. Make sure that it's all kind of in line. If we pull this up, it's going to actually touch inside here, so it's going to be easier to trim down here. So we're just going to leave it where it is because I can't get a knife in there to cut it. All right, so first things first, we have a groove here, so we're going to alcohol that and get that down first. So always leave this flap like not sticking, like don't stick it down yet until you get this groove laid. Because sometimes you have to pull that flap over. Flaps like this though, these seamed ones, those ones aren't gonna butt up. Only the straight cut ones are gonna butt up. So don't try and butt those ones up. Those ones are relief cuts. Those are different. How do you know? Because they're going to be cut on like an angle of like the bumper, where these ones are straight. Okay, so make sure you get right in there. If it's not laying down, then you're going to have to try to heat it down. And then basically do little tiny strokes with your squeegee and come up around the corner, to get all that water out. Here and there. And remember, we want to try and get this out, but we can't get this laid down yet until we trim that. So just don't forget to do that after you're done trimming. this was in the paint, so I'm not lifting it for that. I took a picture beforehand. Okay, so thing over here, we're gonna do the corner first. Strip the corner down. So this one we're actually touching up in there, so I'm gonna have to get my knife in there anyway, somehow, and trim that. So see, this is where, I mean, sometimes you're gonna have to pull it. So see how this is like, here's our corner, but we have this like finger. If I pull it that way, then I can get rid of that finger. If I don't, I'm gonna have a really hard time laying that down. So I'm gonna pull and squeegee at the same time. What is that in there? Alcohol that corner down first. So alcohol this corner, that little flap thing, and then pull from there. And see how I can get that laid down nice. If you overlap, that's fine. Again, we can trim it off, not a big deal. Right, and then in there, I'm gonna have to trim before that lays down. Try to get that water out. See how we had water coming back? See that big bubble? So if you don't heat it down right away, and if you start doing other pieces, make sure that you're coming back and re-squeegeeing those edges before you start heating the edges, because it'll start pooling from the top. It'll start pooling in here. So just double check that. I'm gonna have to look and see if that was in the paint or not. Okay, and then you can finish that one.